where we were asked to reduce the number of, or percentage of high versus low exceptions that we account for in the high-low exceptions count in 9,500. And on that calculation, 86% of those exceptions were for high versus low that we generated, that would generate exceptions. Any questions? So if you look on page 2, you have the graph display of our percentage of exceptions versus number of bills generated. Year over year, September 2018, we do see that we have a slightly less number of bills generated versus exceptions. Our numbers are a little bit higher this year, and we did a little talk and conversation around what would cause that number to generate. And we do understand that the resident count in the county has increased, as well as with some of the new processes that we put into place in our billing department, that we have added additional flags where we can take a closer look at some of the bills that are going out, which may generate additional exceptions to ensure that we are working through those fields to send out more accurate billing. So we take a closer look at those, so our exception number has increased with those additional flags. And as I move into conversation for the disputes that we received for the month of September, year to date, our average number of disputes we received was 658. Our disputed bills account for less than 1% of our 12-month rolling average of 14,000 bills generated. 99% of the disputes we received in September are for 2019 bills, year 2019. 464 open disputes at the close of September were moved into October bills that disputes we will work. 91% of the top call reasons are customers relating to high delinquency. And 26% of the 458 disputes we received rolled over from the previous month. On page 3, we are displaying each month for a year the number of disputes we received. And we have a slight reduction in September of 2019 in comparison to last year, but not a big number, but we only received 458 disputes for September of 2019. And the number of disputes, the top dispute call reasons remain the same as it was for August of 2019. The top call reason was high bill. The second was privately billed after final meter check, and final bill was the top five. And if we look at the number of disputes received per month in the graph that we have displayed here, we like to take a look at what our average number of disputes were for the previous year versus what we are doing today in 2019. And our average for last year was 603, and for September of 2019, we are below the average of the number of disputes we received last year. Any questions?
I've got a question. Do we, and this may be further along in the report, but do we have a breakdown of which disputes are from the new meters that are being installed?
No, I do not have a breakdown.
Okay, what happens when we put those requests in? Because that was put in August to have that.
I know we asked for how many disputes were resolved first for a meter change out, and we identified that 4 disputes that we received were resolved due to a meter change out, but I did not know we were wanting to track the disputes that were based off of the meter change out.
Yeah, for the new day project side of it, just for a comparison basis, you know. And I think that this may happen a few times at this meeting, because the August meeting where the request was made was when Andromika was here, so I'm sure now with somebody else taking over, some of that might get, or July, yeah. Okay, yeah, if you could put that down for next time.
You see information
Okay,
available.
moving forward on page 4, this, we report this on a monthly basis, which is to say an overview of the dispute updates. And the results are listed below, that 94% of the disputes that we received from the advisory board, 69 to 17 of disputes we have communicated to the customers who you all have brought to us, and we have communicated to them by methods of email, phone, and a letter. And the results of those disputes are displayed in a graph. We have closed or resolved 88% of those disputes. 15 out of the 17 have been resolved and closed. And on page 5, we did list a breakdown of each of those 15 disputes, what the dispute was, the resolution, and the date that we closed those. I think that was also a request.
Thank you for that.
And on page 8 is a display of the 2 pending disputes that we have, that we received from the board. And those 2 are in the other status where we are in the process of reviewing those disputes with our executive leadership team to make a decision. Well, that was page 6. Page 7, we replaced our dispute process that we usually have listed out in the report to display the process flow that we're using to resolve the disputes that, or issues that we have that come into the contact center. And I'm gonna refer to Ms. Ferguson to review that process.
Okay, well, we got a big, I mean, you all have a copy of it there, so it's okay. I'm gonna read from the actual page, but, I'm put on my specs, because you don't know. The age behind it. Okay, so the teams worked closely together, Watershed as well as, the finance and, contact center group, to kind of take a deep dive into the perception that some of the, accounts were taking longer, some people felt that they were in dispute and they weren't being responded to. So what we found was, quite frankly, there were some gaps in what was perceived as a dispute. So, with much conversation, what we came up with was a process by where it's an issue. So we don't have to, upon, initial contact from the customers calling the contact center, if it's an issue where one may think that's not necessarily a dispute, we started out as an issue. If that person is not able to resolve it, then it moves through the various steps you have here. The yellow squares represent all of the points of contact with the customer, so I'll just briefly walk you through it. Initially, when a customer will contact the call center and the customer service representative takes the call, if it is necessary for a work order to be issued, that work order is issued, and then that goes to an analyst or supervisor by way of report so that there can be tracking. Because prior to us making those changes to the process, what would happen is the customer would be asked to call back for those results. So we looked at it and found that that wasn't quite as customer friendly as we thought. It didn't really hold us as accountable as we should be to responding to the customer. So what we've done is change the process so that we're tracking each of those to the point and calling the customer back with the results, at least making an attempt to contact the customer. So as you see, once the reports are run, there is a centralized place, that's the other key point, there's a centralized place where all of those issues are maintained until the point that they are actually resolved and closed, or until they're sent to the actual dispute team. So we have teams of varying skill set and varying knowledge bases, and so what we've done is taken it. So once it gets to the point where it gets in the work order, the list is updated, it's assigned to a core team member who will be calling the customers back with the results of said work order. Once they review the tracker and they report the customer with the results, or with the service level agreement to get back with the customer 10 business days. At that time, if the customer is satisfied with the dispute and you know, the dispute in their mind is resolved, then we will close it out, and that will be the end of that. If in fact that is not satisfactory with the results, or then they will transfer the dispute to the customer assurance group. So let me just backtrack. We do make 3 attempts to contact the customer from the 14 who's going to be reporting what the work order results are, you know, have shown. If in fact they're not able to get with the customer after 3 attempts, then that issue, if you will, is closed out without further attempts to contact. So we do make 3 attempts at 3 different opportunities, and if the customer doesn't respond, then we go ahead and move on. Because they're certainly able to call back and, you know, go through the process again. So once it goes to the customer assurance team, by way of the tracker, they will reach out to the customer with a letter, which states that within 10 days, business days, they will, well, basically they'll identify who their case manager is. So they communicate, and the resolution to the customer, if it's satisfactory, whether or not it's satisfactory, they will close the dispute, and that will end the actual dispute. If it is not, then it is forwarded to senior leadership for additional review. And again, in terms of contact with the customer, the contact assurance team will make 3 attempts. If those 3 attempts are not successful, they will also be sent a no contact letter. And once they resolve the dispute, or we communicate the resolution to the customer, 3 attempts are made, that dispute is closed out. Moving from senior leadership to their review of it, they will receive the dispute, review, either they will make a resolution to it, that information will be sent with the results of their determinations, and if the customer disputes it, then of course the way forward is to arbitration. If they do not, then the case is closed. So from arbitration, they will review the dispute, and then the dispute findings would be final. So basically, it's what we've come up with is a better way of tracking what would start out in many cases as an issue, because quite frankly, every time someone calls and says they have a problem with the bill is not a dispute. For example, sometimes customers are calling, they have a leak. That's not a dispute. What's that dispute is, if you know you have a leak, then the bill is not wrong. It's just you may need to be made aware of what the administrative policy surrounding a leak looks like. Or we could have landlord-tenant situations where the landlord has been charged with the bill that, you know, and so those are really issues that generally can be, you know, resolved within the contact center. So because everybody is, you know, on the cusp of what's the dispute, what's not, it's just easier to track every issue until the point of resolution, and making sure that we keep and we respond back to the customer as opposed to asking them to call us. But for one thing, sometimes we don't know at the onset exactly when the field support is necessary, when the work order information will be back. So it's not customer friendly really to say 7 to 10 days. So if they call on the 7th and it's not there, then we can call on the 8th, 9th, and 10th. So it just kind of gives the customer a little bit more comfort to know that we're going to track it, they're going to hear from us, and we've set that expectation at service level agreement of 7 to 10 days. I'm sorry, 10 business days, as opposed to 7 to 10 for them to call back. So yes, ma'am.
Question.
Mm-hmm.
After it goes from the customer assurance team to senior leadership,
Yes, ma'am.
and senior leadership is reviewing,
Mm-hmm.
does the customer have any opportunity to interact with senior leadership to quote unquote present their case to arbitration?
Okay, so let me say this, and then I can defer to Ms. McNabb, who's the senior leadership that typically gets that. Before it is sent to her, she is provided with all of the support, and whatever the request is the ask of the customer. The customer assurance team puts that together in a packet. So what she's reviewing all of that information, so typically, Swag and Intake and Customer Assurance has asked the customer, just basically, what is it that you're asking, what is it that you need, and then it's sent to senior leadership. And I think at the point of senior leadership, I'll let her speak to how she may reach out or what that process is, because we're not necessarily privy to that. Ms. Diane, do you?
Yes, we take all of the data, because we get sent everything that has been reviewed. We take all that data and basically review it from scratch again, from top to bottom. Occasionally, we'll have an additional question or two, and we will actually reach out to the customer and ask for that additional information, until we come to a conclusion. Now, once we come to a conclusion, we communicate that to the customer, and if the customer wishes to go to arbitration, then we'll schedule arbitration, and that's the point at which they'll be able to present all of their information.
Okay, and then arbitration, along with the customer and yourself, senior leadership, make a decision whether the final decision is whatever. And is that decision then given to that customer in writing?
It'll be given to the customer in writing, but it will be, the arbiter that makes the decision.
Okay, and
And
What I'm trying-
we have to adhere to whatever the arbiter arrives.
exactly, and so what I'm trying to get to is that when customers then present to the public that I didn't get to hear and I haven't heard from anybody, this is the process by which they have, and then all of this is now then documented.
Mhm.
Okay.
Who is the arbitrator?
We have our law department has set up, a number, I don't know who they are, it's, a pool of, retired lawyers, I believe, I think most of them are probably retired, I'm not gonna say all of them are, but a group of lawyers who will hear the case.
From a bias standpoint, I would hope that it would be somebody, the lawyers aren't related to the to the county. Okay.
Not at all.
How were they selected?
That I'll have to ask our, attorney.
Okay,
I can get that
Sure.
information for you.
okay.
And are these, follow-up question, are these attorneys, arbitrators, /
They're trained arbiters.
trained arbiters? That's what what are the qualifications?
Yeah.
And are they citizens of DeKalb? I'm trying to get for the record that these are not just people pulled out of the sky somewhere.
Okay.
And I want that to be very clear to the public. And I also want to ask, are these arbitrators necessarily citizens of DeKalb?
I'll find out.
And do they have to be?
What kind of time frame are you looking at if you're gonna move forward with the arbitration from the time that that decision is made until that it actually happens? And what happens in the interim with the bill?
So the kickoff would be the customer saying they wanted to go to arbitration. And that I'll have to get, it shouldn't be long, I mean, because it's just a matter of picking an arbiter.
Mm-hmm.
Can we put in there, just like the rest of the graph, Attorney McNabb, 10 days?
Let me double check.
10 days to be consistent with what we're trying to do?
I will shoot to see if 10 days works out. I know that one of the issues that we can run into is whether a customer can actually take time out of their schedule
Exactly.
to have a meeting within 10 days.
But then that's that's at the customer's behest.
Mhm.
What I would like to see is that we have a policy
Okay,
as a county. So then when somebody does want to come to arbitration, they know what the parameters are. And if I got a $10,000 water bill that I've been screaming about for whatever length of time, I would think that I would really,
So let me just interject here, because I do understand what the ask is, but given, when we're talking about arbitration, there are some things surrounding that process that may not be feasible for us to say 10 days. We can say pretty much with substantial certainty within our internal process that 10 days is a reasonable time frame. But I think that upon engaging the services of attorneys, be they retired or otherwise, I don't think the expectation should be that we're gonna have a timeline as slim as that. That's my first point. My second point would be, while we do understand the customer's level of frustration if they feel like they're to the point of arbitration, they are not under any obligation to pay any of the charges that are in dispute. They're not being negatively impacted, so we would have to simply ask for their patience as we work through that process. But I don't think that it's going to be, again, Ms. Diane will take it and find out from legal. But I think as we're sitting here today, I think being realistic is really important. I don't think 10 days is
well,
probably.
I'm not locked into the 10
Right, I just
days.
wanted to make sure.
What I'm locked into is that the public perception is,
Got it.
because what ends up on the news at 5 o'clock is that I went to arbitration and I haven't heard anything for 30 days. That's where I want
I don't
us
think
to
there's
build.
been arbitration.
I want us to build into the ask, at least a
Whatever that
parameter.
Yes, ma'am, I got you.
So the expectation, whether it be 10 days or 30 days.
right, just for us to have
A
a
timeline.
timeline.
Exactly.
I don't think
Yeah,
that's
that's
unreasonable at
reasonable.
all. Okay?
I have one more question. As far as what a customer would need to bring for documentation, to defend themselves during that process and the fact that they think their bill is fair, is that going to be something that is communicated? Because I have a lot of people coming to me saying, I know that this bill isn't right, but I don't know how to prove it. And so they're wanting consumption numbers versus meter readings and things of that nature. I think that if we're gonna provide that process, the arbitration process, I think it's only fair for residents to be able to have access, to that information that's easy to get. And I think that needs to be communicated starting now,
Well,
that
I
people
think
can request that.
Yeah, we can set up some sort of process where they can call and request data
Mhm.
if they wish. Given, as we, are in the process of changing our systems out,
Mhm.
we do not have a way for customers to access that data themselves.
So can you see, like, in that situation, how that would, the county has all the information, and then you've got an 80-year-old resident sitting there with nothing but her opinion, and some notes. How are they gonna
As I
win?
said, if they wanna see what the readings are, we can print out the readings and send them to them.
Okay, so the communication is missing, though, that residents can access that information other than going through public, open records requests.
So I guess I just wanted to clarify, because when you say readings, the readings are what's on the bill that the customer.
Well, it should be. I've seen a number sent over where they accessed their records. They did an open records request, and it was clearly different numbers. To one of them, 30,000 gallons.
Well, it's not, a reading can be on there and then and it be a no, you gotta know how to read it, basically, because it can be a reading that says no invoice. And then it can.
No, it was two different
Whether or not it's
numbers.
a reading versus the actual consumption, which is calculated from the readings, but either way, it can be confusing.
Uh-huh.
We have no way of knowing what the circumstance is at this point without having that specific account, but it could
Sure, I'll show it to you after the meeting.
But wouldn't some of that, another question, wouldn't some of that back up on your graph? Wouldn't some of that have been given when it says customer center, right there in the first big yellow block? Report results to customer within 10 business days, review accounts on Tracker Daily for work order results, et cetera, et cetera. Wouldn't some of that data be to that customer that's okay, I'm already in dispute, and I'm going through this graph, okay? I would have a crazy bill in my hand, if you will, and then I called and I wanna dispute it, then your office is going through all of this information, giving me some fact-based data, if you will. I'm still not satisfied. So then by the time I get down to senior leadership and ready to go to arbitration, because I have that right as a customer, I have a certain amount of data, do I not?
Yes.
Well, you have, go ahead. I don't-
You definitely, I mean, you have data, as was mentioned, on every single bill you receive that shows exactly what the readings were, and how the consumption was calculated every single billing period.
Okay,
And if
so,
you wanted other data, that, all they have to do is ask, that's provide, we send readings, we send, payments, it's the customer's account information.
right.
So there is,
So I'm not going to arbitration blindly, cause I'm
right, I mean, and if it's and I do understand your point as a, what would it be fair to the citizen? I frankly think we can come up with a list of items that we will provide the customer so that they can have it, that we'll make sure that they have a copy of whatever relevant work orders, readings. I mean, there's nothing that's a secret in us.
Right,
The
right.
customer, at the point we're talking to them in this first yellow block, it's typically through a phone conversation where we're verbally communicating what the results are of, said work order. If the customer asks for the work order, we provide them a copy of the work order, so.
I
it's-
think we could be proactive
Absolutely,
and
that's no
building again, Diane, into the system, the stuff that a customer may need
Before they go to arbitration.
if they want to go to arbitration. These are the things that we provide, and then maybe even have a questionnaire. Do you feel like there's anything else you need that is not here?
Okay.
Cause I don't know what I don't know.
So what we'd be talking about though, are only those people who at the conclusion have said, I'm still not satisfied, I wanna go to arbitration.
That's right,
So there would be only those people that we would provide that
that's right.
information, because that's and we don't mind at all, but it is a very manual process.
Yes, yes, understand.
So-
And yes, that's what I'm asking for.
We don't have the record on that, please.
Go ahead, Rick.
So,
Yes, sir.
although I hadn't experienced, appeals and hearings here as it relates to water bill, in other governments or utilities, ultimately, if it's going before, independent party arbitrator, they would typically have access to the same files in which we made our basis of our decision. So it's not gonna be a situation where our customer wouldn't have access
Yeah.
to the information that is used for the basis of our decision. So, I mean, it's just.
Well, I think it's, to you, it's very much like, well, yeah, it's available, but unless it is clearly stated and communicated, that 80-year-old lady in South DeKalb has no idea that she
Well, I
has the
think
ability to ask for that.
That, I think Reggie brings up a really good point in that maybe what our process needs to include for arbitration is anything that we include in the packet for the arbiter, we give the customer the exact same packet, okay? Of whatever we're gonna give
Exactly.
to the arbiter.
So,
And that would be in support of whatever we believe the proper bills to be. Now, as far as, and I can tell you, we're very sympathetic to those folks. And it's not just 80-year-olds that have difficulty, understanding and getting through it. And that our customer service people are trained to try to help you get through that. If they want more advanced, discussions, I think we'd have to take that to the table and see maybe if we could come up with some ideas for what you're trying to accomplish.
So one of the things, I was curious about, with the new meters, you've got FlexNet, so you've got the hourly usage, and there's a portal that you can give access to customers for a fee, correct? If you subscribe to it?
That feature exists.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we currently.
Yeah, you don't currently
subscribe
have
to
it.
So it would just have to be, if it's a business decision made that that's what we're gonna do. And more than likely, once we migrate all meters to that, it'll be a benefit. And I'm pretty sure at that time we'll offer some type of service as such.
Yeah,
But because we got so many different platforms right now. It's just
sure, it wouldn't work right
complicated.
now. I'm more talking about moving forward. Because I think about the amount of resources, as far as the customer assurance department goes, the calls they're taking. I feel like if a customer can log in, see what's going on, that might eliminate some of that. I mean, that's what other municipalities do.
Yeah.
And especially from a transparency standpoint, if that's what we're still going for.
Yeah, I think that we wanna see like how it all integrates into Enquesta.
Uh-huh.
And that's the missing piece. Right now, we don't have a consistent platform to manage exactly what you're suggesting.
Our goal would be to make it seamless,
Yeah,
so that the customer doesn't feel like they gotta log into Enquesta. Well, now they want something else, so they're gonna log out of Enquesta, and then they've gotta remember what their login for this other system is. And so we'd rather attempt to make it a more seamless. I'm not gonna guarantee, John's gonna give me a good, I'm not gonna guarantee that we can do it, but that would certainly be one of our goals, to make it more
Definitely,
user
look,
friendly.
right now, we've got CPAC, we've got interfaces to Oracle, we've got other systems, some are integrated and some aren't. Our goal is gonna be to automate as much as we can automate, and to the extent that we can provide a customer-facing portal that will provide them with as much capability, transparency, and access to information. That is the goal of what we're doing with Enquesta. I don't know today that we know the 80 things or the 50 or the 100 things that we can do within that portal framework. I think we're still learning that. But that definitely is the goal, is anything that can be done, because we're in a modernized technology that will actually provide one portal rather than, we've got CPAC, we've got a payment vendor portal, we've got another portal where you can look at your bill, and seamless, integrated, hopefully one stop. That is the goal of where we're heading. We're still not completely familiar with the overall portal aspect of Enquesta yet, though.
But that's definitely our goal, because that will make our lives easier. To be able to have the customer access their own information.
Okay.
What happens if a customer is in the minority and just doesn't have internet access? I mean, we're making the assumption that everybody's on internet in
Well,
everything we've discussed.
That's why I mentioned to Star just a few minutes ago about the 80-year-old, and I don't mean to be disparaging to octogenarians by any means, but, we'll come up with something. We'll develop some sort of, cause that always is a concern I have, is folks that don't have internet access.
Well, I think they could still go the old route, right? You still offer them, you can call in or fax a request or whatever is,
I don't know what's available. That's
So
what we're
nobody
trying to
knows,
discover.
yeah.
And we're gonna be no less better, how do I say that? We will not have any less capabilities now, because people will still be able to call in, we'll still be doing the recording, we'll still be doing the training based on the recording.
Exactly.
So all of those technologies that have already been implemented over the last couple of years, those will stay engaged, refreshed as needed, and integrated as needed. It's just really looking to Star's point, are there other things that we aren't doing today and that technology may enable that we might be able to incorporate? And again, whether it's phone technology or, you know, to your point, some people can't use technology at all, and they're just still gonna have to, they get their bill, they put a stamp on it, they send it in, and making sure that we can accommodate all of those types of questions that could occur as well.
And to your point, we mail 80-year-olds or 30-year-olds or whoever, copies of, we get copies of their bill, their payment history, their consumption. We do all of those things today, if the customer has that concern. Are there any other questions regarding the?
Ms. McNabb, can you just summarize, I know you've been taking notes about different things that we asked you. So can you just kind of do a summary so we can have it on file of what you're gonna look into?
Okay, you mean from the start? We're gonna find out how arbiters are selected and whether they're DeKalb residents. We're going to, explore what kind of, timeline commitment we can make as far as when arbitration will occur and when the decision will occur. And then on, as far as the documentation, we'll make sure that the customer receives the same documentation that the arbiter is going to receive. I took some notes about what we're gonna do on Enquesta, but, and then we need to come up with some, sort of help for the non-internet savvy folks when that occurs. Maybe as part of our transition to, because I'm sure we'll have some customer education for, especially, what will be for those that are internet savvy, and then we'll have some customer education for those that aren't.
Okay, thank you.
Didn't we have another one too about trying to put in a time frame for how long the arbitration process was gonna last?
Yeah, we're gonna try to come up with, the deadline for when the hearing, a timeline for how many days till a hearing, and then from the hearing, how many days till you get the decision.
Perfect, thank you.
I have a question about the outbound team portion where it says report results to the customer within 10 business days. Who oversees that timeline to make sure that that's happening? Is this the goal, or is this currently what you're saying is happening? That the customer receives?
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Chantel. I'm the customer care manager for UCL.
Okay.
My team is the one who is making those outbound calls.
Okay.
The 10 business days is because it may take up to 10 business days to get the results from field services when we submit the work order. And that is our timeline to contact the customer. We may reach them much sooner than the 10 business days. That's why we're checking that report daily. And we'll get that information to them over the phone.
They do not wait 10 days. In fact, how many days, from the time you get the results,
We check the
we
work
have
order status.
like 2
daily.
to 3 days before they get a phone call at
We
max?
start the following day. We issue the work order and we start checking the work order status the following day. So as
And
soon
then
as
once you get results, how long before you call the customer?
we're calling them, we're checking every day and we call them
That-
immediately.
Okay.
And we
I think
get
that's what you're wanting to know.
Yeah, I think there's a gap there too, because the issues I'm hearing from customers is I haven't gotten a call back. And it's not 10 days, it's like,
So let me go back to the part where we said this is a new process.
sure, that's why I'm asking.
This is a, like, new process.
Yes,
The
yes.
other process was in customer assurance, which was downstream when it was determined that it was an actual dispute. This process before was where we told the customer to call us back.
Yes.
Which sometimes they did, sometimes they did not. This is a new process.
So this is being implemented because we were like, what's going on?
This
Is that?
No, we were
No.
never, we were never what's going on.
No.
What we did was take a deeper dive into our process
That's
and
what she
recognize
said.
that there were some gaps. So because we found those gaps, we wanted to be transparent and accountable to the customers, and we felt it was better for us to reach back out to them. but we were never, what's going on, and so some people may have slipped because it may have been a determination that that wasn't identified as a dispute. So we've taken that, the dispute is used widely, and it's used, some people have a different definition of what dispute means. So we started out with it's an issue.
It's an issue.
Some of the issues are readily resolved at the desktop without any further, support or intervention from, outside, field service, work orders, some are not. When it gets to the point that a work order or some other support is needed, that's when we commit to a service level agreement of 10 business days so that we can respond to the customer. If it is something such as a billing, for example, a billing issue that they're able to resolve and a credit is, appropriate, what will happen during that process is the credit will be applied, and when we contact the customer back, everything will be communicated, the credit will have been applied, and then we can close it out. If at that point, the customer hasn't been, satisfied, then that's when they move on. And even at the point where we don't have resolution, because let's be clear, if it requires field support, there are some times that are things outside of our control that the work order results may not be back. We will still pledge to reach out to the customer within that 10 business days just to update them. That is the reason why you see the yellow. We're just trying to demonstrate the number of attempts, the number of times that we're touching the customer. So I just want to put that out there.
And I want to clarify,
Yeah.
I don't mean any,
Yeah.
I know you're a hard worker, I'm sure Chantel is, that is not directed at you, but I think what I have a problem with is that these billing issues have been going on since 2016, and we're only just now solidifying this process right
Well,
here.
now,
That's an
before,
upper leadership management
The
problem.
process was the customer, we asked the customer to call us back. We all put our heads together and said, well, wait a minute. We think that there can be some confusion that relates to that, like customer walks away thinking we're gonna call them, okay? And so if they never call us back, we don't know what happened. And so we felt like that it was a better customer service approach to, instead of saying, call us back within 7 to 10 days, to say, we will call you back no later than 10 days to let you know exactly what's going on. And as Chantel said, we basically call them within 24 hours from the time we receive the information from field services. And so at that point, we can document that we have communicated to them exactly what field services found. And then we're not dependent upon the customer to call us back whenever, they get back from vacation or something like that.
So these disputes that keep dragging on, I guess I don't understand what the gap is there. It's not happening at a lot of, the ones that we bring to the table with you guys are ones where they have not been contacted, and they're coming to me saying, what's the deal? I can't get a call back from my customer assurance rep. So there are disputes that are sitting, and the people have no idea what's going on with them.
If you send us the ones that say that they're not getting any call back, then we'll follow up and find out whether they've gotten a call back or not.
Okay.
Okay, for the sake of time, maybe we need to, probably move on. Have you finished your report? Okay, all right.
I can
John?
give you, and mine, there is a lot of work continuing, just know that, but, we're in a lull from the standpoint of we're working on integrations and a lot of things behind the scenes. So if you look at the reports that I submitted today, you'll find that we are still on track. The functional testing has been completed. If we look under key accomplishments on the third page of my, presentation, you'll notice there where it talks about the third bullet, functional regression testing completed and all incidents have been resolved. To me, that's really exciting. I forget the exact number of documented issues we have. I think we had 20 to 25 different issues that were being worked on, and over the last month, all of those functional issues, we were able to work with the vendor and have them addressed. So we're in a very good place as of now. We will continue working on the number of integrations that are being created, and as those integrations continue to be created, we not only test those integrations, but then we also test the system from end to end as well. So that's going to be what's going to continue over the next month or so. We're also going to be going over our fourth data conversion and validation, and that's where we're making sure that as we're doing system updates or build generation in one system, the current system, CPAC, and we're also doing it in the other, that all of the information matches. So that is the data integrity, the data validation, and of course, as we're going along, and as whether it be the UCO folks or the watershed folks are making corrections because they've updated meters or they're updated and they've made some corrections within the CPAC system, all of that information then gets transported back to Enquesta so that as we continue with the data, we can make sure that those corrections are also moving over into the new system. As we look forward also, as I mentioned, we're going to continue end-to-end testing, and I'm also excited to announce, and I didn't put it in the report because I just had a meeting on this yesterday, but John Green and his Office of Independent Internal Audit has volunteered to provide some advisory services to the project as needed. They, of course, are independent, but we can leverage them to make sure that our controls or those types of things that would fall under a normal audit purview, we will be working with him and his team to identify ways where they can, before we go live, make sure that everything is in compliance and those kinds of things. So that is very exciting, and that will help us ensure that we're abiding by all the appropriate protocols and precursor based on knowledge. I mean, we already have people that are very knowledgeable, but having an independent view, also taking a look at our security protocols and those kinds of things is going to be very, very helpful, so we appreciate that. Some of the upcoming milestones you'll see, we've got a few of them coming up over the next few weeks that we'll be staying on top of. Integration test script and writing and functional test script writing, that is all at just about the conclusion phase. And then we're going to, again, continue with more of the functional testing as we move forward. And the reports back from all the testers, again, has been very good. As noted, we found a few issues, but those over the time have been resolved. So despite the fact that going in, I had some concerns about the ability of this vendor to meet commitments and those kinds of things as of today. So far, so good, but we will keep pressing. We still have a long way to go. I was not here with you last time, but we did present the updated Gantt chart. I didn't get any feedback from my team on that, so I assumed it either wasn't addressed or it was, we were okay. But to the extent that this information is helpful, or you would like any additional information or depth, just let me know. But we tried to make sure that we had a full critical path where we can kind of monitor and track our progress up until the go live, but we're happy to tweak that as needed. And then the last, that actually was the last page. On page 6, you'll see some of the project work items. We're still working on some of the interface issues with like our geographic information systems and those kinds of things. No huge showstoppers, although we are trying to automate as much as possible, and there's a couple of things right now within the framework of Enquesta and the Esri GIS system where we may not be able to automate a few things, so we're coming up with mitigation strategies to determine, if not able to automate, how do we ensure and put together a process by which we can ensure that any data is updated and we have quality control procedures in place. So that is what that line is. It is an ongoing risk. We're going to continue to monitor that over the next few months to see if the vendor might come up with a solution themselves, or if we actually just have to put some processes in place between the teams that will be working between the GIS interface and the Enquesta to mitigate that. Specifically, and I won't get too granular, but basically what the issue is right now the system will not allow us to drop down the menu and say like 1300 Commerce Street, STREET, and those kinds of things. So we're gonna have to come up with consistency. It comes up with the 1300 Commerce, it's gonna come up with the ability to pull the information from Esri. The challenge could be though, as we're working on new, what do you call it, when we're new annexations and those kinds of things where some address changes may occur. Those are the ones that will be a little bit more challenging. So this isn't a huge issue, but it is something that we're going to need to monitor and just have some mitigating things in place in case we are not able to automate that once we go live next year. And with that, that is my update for that. So any questions that you may have, I'm happy to answer. Yes, sir.
My impression, and I could be very wrong, but initially I remember something about the project completion being late summer, and it was moved to complete by the end of this year. And these are critical path items, and some of them don't even commence until next year. If you look at the testing phase and the activate phase and the go live date, that's in November of next year. What are we defining as the end of this project?
The end of this project is going to be the go live, which is the end of August, early September of next year.
So we're moving from end of this year to close to the end of next year?
We made that move in April, when I came to this board after going to the Board of Commissioners, asking for the change orders that were required. If you recall, when we initiated this project, we went in with the hope that we could have an aggressive 6 to 12 month implementation. Once we signed on with the vendor, they immediately indicated there was no way we could, but they could not give us a timeline until they went through all of our business requirements documents and all of the things associated with the project. And then if you recall back again in the April, I think it was the April timeframe is when I went to the board, and then I think May or June was when I updated you all. So we did have that time change, or that project move, and that was based on, we didn't know what we didn't know going in. With the vendor's assistance, once they learned all of our processes, good, bad, or indifferent, and how we needed to modernize those within the confines of the solution, that was when we came up with the revised timeline, which you've seen for at least the last three or 4 months or so. So there is like right now, if you look at testing, in certain phases, functional, we're 100%, we're gonna start interface testing. So there's a lot of things that are going on, but you're right, we are kicking certain things off. A lot of stuff is not gonna kick off until December, January timeframe. But we are on track since the revised change order, which, like I said, occurred during the April-May timeframe, and we have not deviated from that since. And as of today, with the progress we're making, I'm still confident that we will be able to stay on course with the current timeline.
Well, John, first of all, you know, I could be in error about any of these timelines. That's why I wanted to define when is the success. Wanted to fully understand when we complete this, so that we're talking about the same thing.
Yeah, I would say the completion of this project will be that red line, the third from the bottom there on page 7, which says go live, but the reality is we'll be going and working on this even months after the dust settles.
But this type chart, I thought you and I discussed that this was very effective, and I tried to convey that, gee, that's what I'd been asking for over and over, but I don't know if it was last month or the time before, but that's great.
Yeah, it was last month, and it was based on your feedback, so we definitely appreciate that, and I do apologize that we did get from this to something more manageable more quickly, but
This is beautiful.
thank you.
John, I may have needed to ask this question of Lynn, but the two of you, I remember several months back when we were talking about customers' bills, large bills, et cetera, there was a group of commercial properties that had very, very, very large bills owing to the county. And either you or Lynn, do you have any feedback of whether we looked into those or had an opportunity? I know you got your hands full with the residents, and that's a good thing.
Okay, so I do remember that, and it was probably neither one of us.
Yes.
Because that was on the finance side.
Okay.
And so.
Can somebody put that back on the table?
We can put it back on the table. I don't know if anybody here is able to speak to that.
Because there was a very large dollar amount, as I remember.
So let's just track what your actual ask is. You wanted to know for the large dollar amount for commercial?
Yes, there were high water bills and very late, as I remember.
So we saying balances, high balances?
High balances,
Okay.
yes.
I don't know if those were they charge-offs or?
I don't know what they were. All I know, it was a very large, and it was about, I think it was about 100 businesses. I'd have to go
That
back,
had large balances.
that had large balances.
And you want to know.
I wanna know if those got resolved, if they got charged off, if,
Okay.
what, you know, cause that was a large dollar amount as
Okay.
well.
I think the conversation came up when John had it on his report, that we had some charge-offs that were, we didn't know if they were gonna be in the new system or not.
Right, and so that, Diane, goes back to the question, I know there was like Emery and a couple other things that were, and I don't know if there were 100, I thought it was smaller, but there may have been a larger pool, where we were trying to, I think, get a better handle on those particular bills, and then determine whether or not they were legitimate, whether we needed to write any portion of those things off, and so I don't know what the status is of that either, but that, to their point, that one came up many months ago.
Many months ago.
We have a division, revenue protection, that actually researches those accounts to determine the accuracy, and the accuracy of those balances. And then what happens after we determine the accuracy of the balances has not been, determined at this point.
Same for the residential accounts, or, so,
Residential accounts that are in dispute are subject to the moratorium. They need to
Okay.
pay their average monthly or bi-monthly bill, and then we'll continue to research to get it resolved.
so is there gonna be like is there a policy as far as the age of, the accounts receivable from a resident? Like, at what point is it, if it's in dispute, it will not be given to collections, or what's the policy
Right,
there?
No, it will not, if it's in dispute, it will not be given to collections.
Okay. And what about the bills that are still in dispute from times when you couldn't validate the consumption?
We come up with the best set of information, the facts, that we can,
Uh-huh,
and determine what the likely result is, or why it is, and then we come to a final, conclusion.
okay.
So that's on a case-by-case basis.
Right, that's strictly case by case.
So, now that we have this new process, the deeper dive, if you will, are you guys going back over to those disputes that have been there and trying to,
This is the same, the only thing we changed was us calling the customers instead of the customers calling us.
right? So the
It's the
customers that have
same.
already been in dispute and already saying my bill is wrong and all these months, whatever, they're in this new process now.
Everybody that we're working on, unless they've received a letter that says your dispute has been resolved,
Yes.
that this is the end of your dispute, then they're still being evaluated.
Right, okay.
And oftentimes, as I mentioned at the last meeting, one of the things that folks need to keep in mind is that if what the customer is questioning is the meter and the readings on the meter, if we are required to go out, if we need to go out and change the meter out, then it's gonna take several months of consumption
For real.
for us to have new data that we can compare to, because they'll say, oh, well, our bills are too high. Well, if the consumption's the same on both meters, it's the same on both meters, but if it's not, then we'll adjust it back, we'll adjust their prior consumption back down to what the new consumption is, but that takes, because we do bi-monthly reads on most accounts, that would take at least 4 months just to have 2 additional reads on the new meter to compare to however many old reads that we're looking at. So there's no way for us to guess what their consumption was before that until we have what their new consumption is. If what they're disputing is that prior consumption.
And with that said, because I think I heard something. This process, we started out, if I'm not mistaken, in this county with almost 30,000 bad water bills. About 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago.
Are you talking about
Everybody-
the bills that had not been mailed?
Bills that had not been mailed, bills that maybe had bad, misinformation, whatever. My point is, we started out with an issue of almost 30,000 water bills in a system that was over 50 years old, infrastructure collapsing all around the country. DeKalb County being one of the oldest counties in the nation. And now we're at, albeit, we're not perfect. You know, I just want to give the team and the board and the customers and everybody, now we're at 658. And I know that 658 too many. But I think personally, even from a citizen standpoint, my hat's off with the team. We've gotten splash money that we could go out and buy equipment that works properly. We've torn up roads and streets and everything. And so to say that, and I want to go on record clearly, to say that nothing has been done or we're still at the same point we're at, I think that's a slap in the face to all the hard-working DeKalb County folk and citizens who have put up with this.
Who said that?
Yeah, Josephine, nobody's saying that.
Nobody said that.
Well, I said, maybe I heard.
But could you say?
But that's what comes out. That's what comes out.
If you're talking about me.
And I'm tired of it. I'm really absolutely tired of it.
Are you talking about me?
I'm talking about you and anybody else.
I'm gonna be critical.
That's absolutely, and that's fine.
It's important.
But undermining.
I don't think anybody.
And undermining and not being cognizant of what people are trying to get to. I've been living in Georgia all my life, been here in DeKalb County over 40-something years, 45 years, in a church that's got 9,000 members. We've had maybe 10, I brought maybe 10 people to the watershed building.
I want to end this.
And I have had customer complaints, and they've been resolved and handled in the proper, old people, young folk, and everybody. And I guess as a citizen, I'm just concerned. I'm almost shaking because you hear all this negativity about our county and about especially this water billing issue. And I'm done. Yes, Mr. Bob, I'm done. But I'm gonna have my say because everybody else has their say with the news media in front of them. Okay? Now, I'm
Who
done.
are you upset for right now?
I am
Residents?
upset. I am upset because of what has happened on this board.
We are the Citizens Water Billing Advisory Board.
Absolutely.
And we are allowed to be critical.
And we have advised the administration, we have advised these folks from day one. Some of these processes they got here right now came out of this board. And you have made the comment that this board hasn't done anything.
We haven't done anything tangible. That's what I said, and I stand
So
behind
you don't
it.
think any of this process is,
Can we hold on, can we get back to,
I said I was done, but
Okay.
if you come for me, I'm coming back,
Whoa.
yes.
okay, let's just move on. Who's gonna talk about the door hanger? We have a copy of it?
With that, as a matter of fact, the door hanger came out of this board.
And let me just, at the risk of probably getting in trouble, but I stay in trouble. Let me just say, as a citizen myself, as an employee, and as a ratepayer, I understand the frustration. And even in the exchange when I was talking about the flow, I don't want you to feel like I was personally offended.
I didn't think you were.
Okay. But I do think we need to be cognizant of the words that we use and the way we frame things. Because I think that we're all here to make improvements within the system. And I thought my understanding from what I was told the board was to advise us and to give us recommendations that would be beneficial from the perspective of the customer. So we're all here trying, I think, to accomplish the same thing. So the way we say things and the way we speak, I just think that sometimes it does come across, and I'm just speaking for me, Glenn, it comes across as, you know, as you use the word criticism, we're okay with criticism as long as it's constructive.
Sure.
And I'll use this just as an example, because you've often stated, excuse me, that you want someone to go onto Facebook and we monitor some of the comments. Well, one of the comments was about the door hanger. And it said, in quote, when we get it back from the printer, which was what I said, but it was out of context. What I actually said was, we worked with communications to develop the door hanger. And once we got the approval to release it, we sent it to the printer. And as soon as it comes back, it'll be deployed and we'll use it, which we have been doing. And one of the things that's happened on Facebook was when we get it back, and it almost seemed, as though we weren't taking it seriously, but we do take everything that comes from the board very seriously, and we work very hard to get you what you ask for, to get you what you need. And sometimes those are things that take time. Sometimes they have to be vetted at a level that is beyond our pay grade. So we just ask for a little bit of patience while we work to do those.
So what I tried to express, you guys are doing your jobs. My problem is upper leadership, upper management, and it's trickled down. From a tactical standpoint, I know you do your job. It's more that there's nobody overseeing a lot of these processes and ensuring that the accountability is there. So that's where my frustration comes from. Never to the people who show up and do the dirty work at these meetings.
Okay. Point taken. Door hanger. Door hanger. We've had these pretty much since the last conversation that we had about it. I think a week later, they came back the week after, like our last meeting when we talked about them going to the printer, and they were immediately put into, into the process. So essentially what this represents, and I just want to be clear that this is a different type of door hanger than the one we talk about, the notifications to the customers on the project. So the project has a different door hanger. The first door hanger for the project lets them know that they're coming to do the work, and then they get one when the work is completed. This is an everyday, ordinary operation for the metering team, the field operations team, that lets the customer know, hey, we've come by, we've changed your meter, or it has several other things on there. If the customer calls in and inquires and they want to do just a meter leak check, and it gives the various stages of what was determined at the time that you were at the property. So it's a front and back, and each field technician carries these with them, and when they go to the property, they check for leaks and they're able to determine whatever the status is. They'll check it and they leave it on the door. Now we can't guarantee that they're gonna be there when the customer gets home. I mean, a lot of times, kids will take them off, they can blow off, but we do leave one after each visit to the property. And on the back side, we have it for meter replacements due to whether the meter is stopped or damaged, or if one of the executives, intervenes on the behalf of the customer and determines, hey, let's just go ahead and change the meter out, which we do rarely, and it does require executive or someone, in a senior leadership position to do, because what we can't have is we can't spend money on brand new meters that we know are fully functional and just change them out at the whim, because we have to educate our customer, or because we can't, convey to them, hey, it's actually working. So those are some of the things on the back. And then if the field technician has comments about maybe something that they noted on the property or something they'd like the customer to know, there's a comments, portion of it too. So, and that's on every time we go. So we thank you all for that, suggestion, and we've taken it, and hopefully using that, that'll be helpful to the customers.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you very much.
Mhm.
Okay, we'll move on to, Mr. Green, do you have anything to report to us today? I know that you're here and we like to acknowledge the presence.
Yeah, I'm here, not since last month, because I'm still working, like I said, with Diane and them, but I do want to clear, as I've said last month, a lot of the issues that come up here, and like John, the timeline for the implementation, it's very good that got kind of looked, because there's a lot of processes that were mentioned in this report, but there's also a lot of processes they've discovered that in order to get it right, that's what they're having to do, is map out the processes. Because this system, and that's a lot of the issues, is in this report. You're just gonna have billing problems because you got meters that need to be replaced. They're going through the data that's in this antiquated system and making sure the data is correct, which takes a while, because you don't wanna put garbage in, garbage out. Data, because I can tell you there's some addresses wrong in there with the wrong address, with the wrong meter. So that's why you had some, because just to read the report, some of our write-arounds found that out, issues that you showed up to look at this meter and the person's had the wrong address. So that just takes time to work out. But, we've got responses, and what we're trying to do as far as from an audit perspective is we're working to say, when are you gonna fully implement these, or you're not gonna implement them? And we wanna give a conclusion. I've got conclusions, I gave it to Diane, I've given them time to say, this is where I think you are at, so then it has to go up. So they're making changes. I can tell you a lot of this will not be probably fully implemented till everything goes live. And then once it goes live, I'm gonna tell you, you're probably gonna have issues. Still, you're gonna have now issues where people with new meters are gonna say, well, my water bill's high because their meter hasn't been working right. And they're gonna have finally the right addresses in there too, because I can know probably went to a lot of the meetings, the first 5-hour meeting, 4 or 5 hour meeting they had back in, September of 2016, related to that issue of, I'm never home, my meter's high, I don't have a pool. I can probably, say that probably was reading a meter that was next door that had the pool. It's just from the limited testing that we did in this audit work. But, hopefully by next month, we'll have the answers and be able to reply that and where we are. And I'm working with Diane on that to get the, where the CEO is definitely on that response and all that. But that's kind of where we are. And like John mentioned, we're working with them on, where we can add value to that and look at it from we're independent, so we want to look at different things and make sure the controls are in place and test things, with my IT group that I have, with working that, so we can kind of collaborate to make sure that this system comes online and there's not issues. Because my fear and John's fear always with anything IT related, if something goes wrong, they're gonna ask, where was IT and where were the auditors? So anything we try to, go in ourselves and do an independent verification of security and controls on that, because as you very well know, the issues that are out there, that constantly getting attacked, data's constantly getting stolen, so we wanna make sure that all this information is protected, there's controls in there, because there's a lot of personal data that goes into that too. So we'll work with John and them to provide our independent, verification of the areas that need to be independently verified, make sure all the security controls. And that's a big part of when this new system gets implemented, it does what it's supposed to do. So that's kinda what I have to say. Does anybody have any questions or anything?
Do you have any updates on the audit findings? I think you were going to.
We're, the audit findings, as I mentioned, we have the 22 findings and recommendations that we're working with. We've gotten responses to that, and I've seen where a lot of things implemented. We're at the point now in this report where we're trying to say, include when, are they gonna implement it? Or when is the date they plan to implement it, fully implement it? A lot of it, I said earlier, probably will be in 2020, because a lot of it has got to do with all the processes. Some of it won't be to 2021, or that whenever the meter replacements is completed, because that's a 3-year cycle to replace over 100 meters. Almost up to 100,000. I think they can only replace like 40,000 meters a year, somewhere around that. It just takes the new replacement they have with a settlement. So some of that, and that's some of the things in the report they made. They made a lot of corrections. UCO, they promoted people in there from temporary people to permanent people, and that's where we're trying to get. Are you gonna implement it? I know one of the first recommendations was to consolidate all that. The CEO has not decided to do that. That's his discretion. We just make recommendations, but we wanna try to get their full. If they're not, they're not. We just won't keep going back on that. That's his, but some of them, they have implemented things, I think, and they can go away, but I wanna make sure that my conclusion that I've reached is where they feel it is. So Diane and I are working on that, because she's probably working with that would be the management response. Because as auditors, all we can do is recommend things. It's up to management to implement them, but we like to come back. We've seen that, and we're trying to work with them to come back with a conclusion and give a date to the people if it's gonna be implemented.
So it'll be a specific response for each recommendation?
Yes, ma'am. It will be.
Okay.
It'll have all the their response, but we're getting down to the border facts and having a conclusion. This is what they've done, they've implemented, or they're in process, we see the process, and this is the date. Like the new system, we know, and a lot of that will come on when the new system comes into place. Because there's a lot of things that they're changing in processes that will be automated in the new system. That's the reason why the initial date got pushed back, because I think it was just a lot more than anticipated. And they won't deliver this thing, they don't wanna crank it up and then have problems that, because I've been around enough where people establish a system, they kick it off. I was at the Department of State, they kicked it off, and it didn't work. And you talk about corporate registrations, when I was at, you talking about customers, we had box full of corporation stuff that wasn't getting implemented because the system got kicked off and wasn't ready. So, they're always on, the salespeople say they can do it quicker, but that's why John is leading this up and has put a stop to say, we're gonna get this right. So it may look like the schedules got pushed out, but from my perspective, and I see that's a great thing when you do that, willing to admit you need more time to make sure it gets right. Because if you can get that implemented correctly, then a lot of your issues with billing will go away. You're still gonna have some, you don't have 100, technologies, not all, everybody experiences problems with billing not being correct. I mean, if you get a bill from somebody, there's sometime a mistake that's made, whether it's water bill, health bill, electric bill, any of that.
And John, I wanna be clear so that everybody, Diane, you are the leadership, administrative leadership that has been assigned to this board.
Yes.
Pretty much, the buck stops with you.
It does.
I just want that to go out there, cause I thought that was what it was.
It does.
Okay.
And that's why we're working with her. Zach has pointed that, and we work with her on a lot of other issues within the county, because she is the CFO for the county.
Exactly.
So a lot of stuff is financial that we look at, and we work a lot with her, and then, again, we work a lot with John, because anything we touch in the county is IT related.
And
So-
in my position, I report to the COO, the CEO, and the Board of Commissioners.
I have one question for you, Mr. Green.
Sure.
So how does the rest of this process play out for the Audit Oversight Committee. You're waiting now for the CEO's response, or for Diane then to pass it to the CEO,
Right.
and then for him to respond. And are you done after that, or do you stay?
No, we'll keep following them up until they go away.
Till what goes away?
He'll be following up. Yeah,
The
everything's
recommendations
implemented.
go away. Yeah, I mean, that's basically what I'm saying, the recommendations go, you know, because there'll be some, the ones that they've implemented and agreed to implement, we won't ask them about them anymore.
Okay.
So it could go from 22 to 12, and that's how we do all our audits. If they go away, we don't ask you anymore for it. If we see the corrections done, when we do follow-up, usually a year after, we go, and they may correct, you know, 2 or 3 of them in a year, and then there may be 3 or 4, that they give us a date when they're gonna implement them, but we then follow up another year to see exactly where they are.
Okay.
They never, as part of that, and probably down the road, we'll probably do an audit on water again, and, you know, what we try to do and make the follow-up is we don't wanna find the same issues that we found now that we find later. And that, you know, and that's why the follow-up is necessary, and why we stay on it, is to make sure that they do get corrected, that management pays them attention. Sometimes they can't be corrected, or sometimes management just lives with a risk. You know, we as auditors can only recommend, management can sometimes decide, well, we don't wanna implement it, we just live with the risk.
Or we come up with a compensating
Right.
control.
Control, and they
Which we
live,
can do.
and they live, you know, and the standard that we audit by, then we have to just document the management. Sometimes it's not feasible, you know, not just here, but in other things we've done audits, it's not feasible. Sometimes it takes, when I've been in, you know, audits, just give you a little hit, we do stuff. Sometimes it takes a change in legislation to implement a recommendation or something, so it can be a while, but we try to keep that, anything we find, we try to keep reminding them that it needs to be corrected and that they're held accountable, and that's what we try to do here in the CAB, because, the taxpayers see those finding recommendations and they want to. And, my audit board, you said audit oversight, we have bi-monthly meetings every other month, where we kind of go over what we're working on and everything. So, and that's one of the things we report is where we're status, but if you go to our website, you can see our reports we've done, and then you can start seeing where we've found things. Now we're doing the follow-ups on a lot of things.
Okay.
What's that website?
It's, you can go to the Cobb County website and you go out there under the Office of Independent Internal Audit.
Is that under departments or is
It's
that?
under government. What?
It's under the government.
It's under government. You go to
Government tab.
government tab there, and you drop down, this Office of Independent, has all the reports, it has our risk assessment, and how we determine our plan of what we audit, it has our annual report out there, it has the audits that we've issued out on and all. So if you see those or have any questions about anything out there, you know, feel free to call. And we looked at a lot of different areas, like I said, we just got through working with John on audit under IT security controls, so, IT security centers out there where we maintain that, so that's out there.
It's a public comment is that available at those meetings?
Yes, it is.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
good to know.
Yeah, there is public comment allowed at those meetings, just like there is but at the beginning of each meeting, there's a public comment period.
And to John's point, we may, you'll find probably like on one of the IT ones, we may concur, or we may concur partially, or we may concur wholeheartedly, but to John's point, it may be a fix that we determine is gonna cost $500,000. Well, we don't have that money, it's not a huge issue, yeah, it'd be nice to fix, but to Diane's point, this is the mitigating thing that we'll do to mitigate that risk. So that's the level of detail that you'll find on those types of things from or a management response, where we either concur, or in some cases, we may not concur, then at that point, I don't know what happens with the difference of opinion, but more often than not, it's concur, it's just a matter of timing, funding, and those types of things, and what it takes to then resolve the issues that are found.
Yeah, we try not to implement or recommend anything that's not, they can implement. I mean, but there is some areas, some things we just have to point out, and it may be a issue that, you know, you can't be, but a lot of times we just have to report it. That's by our standards, we report what we see. There's no, whatever we find is there, you know, it's there, we report it, and then make a recommendation to that. questions or anything?
Hey, I'm Hermel Cody, actually, I'm one of the members of the Water Oversight Committee. I'm the vice chair. Hey, John.
Hey.
It's good to see you. Good to see you. As far as the KPMG boards, do you guys are implementing any of those suggestions?
Yeah, we have implemented some of them, and we are
Okay.
still in the process of,
Excuse me.
working on some of them.
According to John, we can't, public comment at the
Okay.
end.
Oh, geez.
Okay. We probably have about 15 minutes left before our public comments. This report, is this your report, Reggie, the meter report? Who's gonna discuss?
That was sent to staff, that's supposed to be the SOPs.
Okay, for billing and what, okay, just all, okay,
Okay,
great.
okay, very good.
Is this
Okay.
online anywhere? Or is it- Okay.
Okay. All right, so next we will, go ahead and start with our election. I believe, on the last meeting, we elected David Clark as our co-chair. So we have an election for chairperson.
And we had 2 nominations.
Right, we have 2 nominations. One was for Josephine Handy
Yes.
Sewell, and one for Star McKenzie.
You were not here.
She was on the phone.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, she was on the
And
phone.
accepted
She
the
was-
nomination.
Okay. Okay, so we currently have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1 on the phone members that are eligible to vote. Is that correct, John? Okay.
Let's see if Stacy is still with us.
Stacy, are you still there?
Yes, I'm still here.
Okay. So we, like I said, we have 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 6 members eligible to vote. Okay? All right, so, let's start with Josephine Sewell.
Obviously, I'm gonna vote for myself.
Okay, so that's 1 for Josephine. Well, she's,
Okay.
okay.
Stacy, we're voting now.
Stacy, who are you voting for?
Okay, I'm here.
We're voting.
Stacy, there are 2 nominations.
And who are you voting for?
Oh, I'm sorry. Josephine Sewell.
Okay, so that's 2 for Josephine. So, let's vote for Star. All in favor for Star? So that's 1, 2. Are
I
you?
don't think I can vote, right?
Yeah, you can vote for
Oh.
yourself. So that's 1, 2, 3, and myself, that's 4. Okay, so Star has the nomination. Do you accept?
I do.
Okay, so Star McKenzie will be the chairperson and David Clark will be the co-chair. All right?
Now go on effect next meeting, right?
Yes, correct. All right, so now,
With that question, when is the next meeting? Are we gonna,
We previously talked about having our next meeting.
because of the holiday?
Right, I thought it was on the 21st, we were gonna move it to. Yeah.
So I have it, well, I don't have it yet, but do we wanna do November 21st?
all in favor of November 21st? Stacy? Oh, she's gone.
Yep, she's gone.
Okay,
When is Thanksgiving?
The 28th.
the 28th.
That's the week after.
Thank you.
Oh, there's a,
The Democratic debate and events that same day. The Democratic debate's the day before, but there are events the next day that I have to go to for work.
and I can't be there either.
remove
Could
it?
we
or-
do, we could do a different day, could we do a different day of the
If
week,
you all
or?
agree on a different day, no problem with me.
But as far as for it to work with staff, do
Somebody,
you wanna get back to us based on?
Cause that,
And then we
that,
can
that
just-
whole week,
So you all are saying the 21st doesn't work because you have Democratic stuff?
What about you, David? Will you be able to attend on the 21st?
I can, yes.
Bob, the 21st? Is that good for you? Is that good for you?
Yeah.
Okay.
see what I mean?
Yeah, that's fine. I just wanna let you all know why.
Oh, okay.
We won't be there.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Is that good for staff? Is the 21st good for you?
how
Okay.
about you, Stacy?
She's gone. So let's just leave it for the 21st and,
Whoever can be here can be
Here,
here, otherwise you
right.
can call
You
in.
can call in, yeah.
right.
All right, I will resend the meeting invite.
And so what about the December meeting? I know last year, did we meet in December last year because of
We did,
staff
because
for
that was when-
holidays?
I feel like that was when, the CEO came in, so it was, definitely a special circumstance.
So are we doing the 19th in December?
Yes, yes.
December.
Okay.
Christmas is
The following, yeah.
Okay.
day after.
All right.
And I'll send you all a new calendar invite for that. I don't control the current calendar invite.
Okay.
So November 21st and December 19th. All right?
December the 19th, you said?
Yes, ma'am.
And just for the record, I am on a special project at work, and I know I will not be here November and December. So I may be able to call in because I'll be going out of state to work, so if I
So
can
we
call
won't
in,
have a
I'll,
quorum. We really,
1, 2,
you'll have 3.
4. I
Is-
could potentially have 5.
Is Victor, is he on?
He was at work today. He had
Okay,
to make
okay.
it today,
right,
But we still have a quorum
okay.
to be able
And if we don't have a quorum, we just can't take any action.
So, right, we can still meet,
to.
Just can't take, you just can't take any action.
okay. All right, so now we're open for public comments. John, you want to start the timer
Yes, I will. And please state your name for the record.
for the record?
If you do have public comment.
Okay, thank you.
Next.
Well, if no one else will speak, I will. If not, first off, I would like to say that if there are people who are not able to attend meetings, I believe that it is up to the commissioners to appoint people who can take an interest in the Citizens Water Advisory Board over their jobs. John, it is good to hear that we are still on track for the 920. I also anticipate that there will be problems after the system actually goes online, and it will take a little bit longer, so but I'm glad that progress is being made. Ashar, I like your idea of old versus new meter complaint comparison, because I think that a lot of people will be complaining about higher water bills with the new meters, because the old ones were sort of running a little bit slow. And it would be nice to see what the current what complaints are about current meters as opposed to past meters, and it would probably give us some good information. I'd also like y'all to look into absentee landlords and unpaid bills. People who are living out of town but own property, there was a lot of blight and like in Brandon Hills and things like that. And I know that the people themselves are maybe responsible for the actual water bills, but it might help to get to these people and see what we can do with them. I'm also still curious about what percentage of the old bills have been resolved or forgotten. I think you all discussed this also. But there were all those thousands of bills that were stopped, and I guess people were supposed to pay their averages, and have they been resolved yet, or how many of them are still sitting in limbo? And thought being, I like the idea that leaks should be counted as resolved complaints. I know that it would increase the number of complaint calls that you would have, but it would also include the number of resolutions. If someone calls in with a high bill and you send someone out and say, hey, we think it's a problem between the meter and your house, it counts as a resolved call. So there would be a negative to the total number of calls, but it would look better on the resolution. And we owe that to, if they call and there's a problem with there, you still have to go out and take a look at the meter, so you still have to put the time into it. I also would like to suggest that we all should, that nobody here should be getting their feelings hurt because of what other people say. We are all grown-ups here, and we certainly don't need to be acting like Donald Trump. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right.
Okay, if, board, are there any other questions, concerns?
I'd just like to say congratulations on your service as the chair the last year.
Thank you very much, I appreciate it. With that, meeting is adjourned. Thank you.